Welcome to Beyond the Scar, C-section stories and strategies for healing. This podcast is dedicated to helping cesarean moms not just recover, but truly thrive after their birth surgery. I'm your host, Nicole Alfred, registered massage therapist and C-section recovery coach. And I'm here to guide you through your journey of postpartum recovery with a blend of real-life stories and expert advice. Each week, we dive into the experiences of incredible moms who have navigated their own recovery paths. And then we're also going to hear from experts who provide actionable strategies for a holistic approach to your postpartum. From physical healing and emotional support to practical tips for balancing self-care with motherhood, this podcast is here to equip you with the tools and the inspiration that you need to live a healthy, fulfilling life after birth. So, whether you are in the early stages of recovery or you're looking for ways to enhance your healing journey, you're in the right place. Let's get started and thrive together. Welcome to Beyond the Scar, where we empower C-section moms to thrive beyond recovery. I'm Nicole Alfred, your host, and today we're talking about something that touches every new mom's life, finding time for self-care while balancing the needs of our children. So let's dive in. Self-care sounds simple, doesn't it? But for moms, new moms, especially those of us recovering from a C-section, it's often anything but simple. We're pulled in many directions, and that taking time for ourselves can feel like a luxury that we just don't have. Yet self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Taking care of ourselves fuels our ability to take care of our children and our loved ones with more patience, more energy, and even a little bit more grace. Today, I want to share my own journey with you of struggling with that balance and some small practical tips that you can use to help you. Today, I want to share my journey of struggling to find that balance and some of the small practical strategies that can help. Okay, I've got to be real with you. I struggle with this balance myself. Well, I don't even really like using the word balance because it's not about balance. It's about prioritization. I remember this time when it hit me really hard. I was having my third baby last year and she was only 8 weeks old and she came down with RSV. My older daughter brought it home from daycare and passed it on to her. And wow, it was such a stressful time taking care of a sick newborn and adjusting to postpartum. Because again, I was only 2 months postpartum. I was only 8 weeks postpartum. Self-care was the last thing on my mind. Those days were a blur of worry and sleep deprivation. I mean, if anything with newborns, RSV, I think is like the scariest diagnosis to be given because you hear that babies die. They have to be hospitalized, which we did. We went to the hospital. My daughter had IV. Like it was so stressful. And even though she was my third kid, I never had a sick child like that before because my other two kids were born in the spring. So having a fall baby and then also a child in daycare meant so many more germs and cold and flu season. In the midst of all of that stress, I could barely take a moment for myself. I mean, I was just trying to keep us both healthy and get through each day. Once she was better, though, I realized something really important. Self-care wasn't just about having a routine that I had to make perfect every day. It was okay if I fell off the wagon. And I allowed myself to acknowledge that I could always start again tomorrow, no guilt attached. And when we finally got through that rough time, took a couple of weeks, I told myself, "Oh, Nicole, let's pick back up where you left off." The priority was Amara in that moment because she was sick. Now you have the capacity for yourself again. And I did just that without beating myself up over the time I had missed out on during those crucial postpartum healing weeks. Those small acts of self-kindness are what got me through. So let's talk about strategies for balancing self-care and parenting, because let's face it, as moms, we need a plan that is not only practical, but also very flexible and convenient. So the first one is time management and mini goals. And that might sound too small to be worth it, but setting a goal of even 5 minutes a day can be a huge lifesaver. Maybe it's 5 minutes to stretch, do some deep breathing, write down one thing you're grateful for. The mini goals give you a sense of control over your day because so much of our postpartum recovery in those early months can feel like we don't have control over our day and that our days just zoom by. Secondly, prioritizing self-care like it's an appointment, like it's a medical appointment. When you block time off for self-care, treat it like it's a doctor's appointment, like a non-negotiable. You're going to get charged if you don't go to that appointment. It doesn't need to be an hour-long ordeal. It can be 10 to 15 minutes just for you. Once you've got it in your calendar, don't move it unless it's absolutely necessary. Third, give yourself grace in unpredictable phases, especially in those early weeks postpartum. Routines are pretty much impossible. And that's okay because you're adjusting to a whole new life. Self care during this time might be getting through the day, and that's enough. The idea here is grace. Some days will go smoothly and some days will not, but it doesn't mean that you failed at taking care of yourself or self care or healing after a C-section. I'm reminded of when my daughter was so little and the whole idea of routine felt impossible. I mean, even now, sometimes too. And that was my wake up call to adapt my expectations. My self care looked very different during that time. And during all of the times during that first 1 year when they're going through so many changes. And maybe just an extra long shower to massage your hair and your head or a quick walk outside would be enough. So now let's talk about practical ideas that you can fit into your day no matter how busy you are. The first one's mini rituals for grounding. So even a quick ritual can make a difference. For instance, you might take a few deep breaths before you get out of bed in the morning. Maybe you say a prayer if you're religious, or you stretch before going to sleep. Small rituals like these don't require much time, but they give you a chance to connect back to yourself. Like, how much time do you actually give that quiet to yourself again? So many of us are just busy on the go, going from one thing to the next, and then we're always picking up our phone, checking in there. So just actually like having quiet and checking in with yourself is super important. Every morning, ask yourself, what do I need today? I remember when my therapist told me that years ago, when I was having my second baby during COVID. And it really was powerful because I didn't ask myself what I needed. I just got up and moved on with the day. I check in. I didn't stop to pause and say, what do I need to feel happy or feel like I've done enough or feel like I'm being taken care of? Because I was such in a moment of taking care of everyone else. Some days you might need an energy boost. Other days you might need a moment to relax, but checking in with yourself allows you to address your needs based on how you're feeling, which means you're taking care of yourself in a way that makes sense for you in that moment, in that phase that you're in. Being kind to yourself, this is a big one. Self-compassion is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. And I can't say this enough, and I struggle with it. We all do, right? We're probably the worst critic of ourselves. But when you're in a challenging time, like caring for a sick baby like I was, or it's your very first baby and you're in the midst of those first couple of weeks in recovery and you weren't expecting to have major abdominal surgery to give birth, let go of the guilt around not doing enough self-care or not doing enough around the house or enough to serve others. Because you can always start those things again when you are actually ready and you're not straining yourself. So balancing self-care with parenting is a challenge, but with some gentle planning and a lot of self-compassion, it's possible. Setting small goals to prioritize yourself is a must-do appointment. And remember that life happens. It's okay to start again when you need to, without guilt. You didn't fail. If you're looking for more guidance or just need a sounding board, I'd love to chat. I'm offering a free 15-minute assessment call where we can talk about your unique journey and where you might need a little extra support in recovery. Just head over to the link in the show notes to book your free assessment call today. Thank you for joining me on Beyond the Scar today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing. Absolutely leave a review and share it with your other C-section moms that you know who might need to hear this message today. Together, we're building a community of strong, resilient moms who are thriving beyond their scars. Until next time, I'll see you then.